of all, I just want to say thank you for being here today and for coming out. I know that some of the information that I'm going to put out today has already made its way around several media outlets, and some of the comments from social media, different platforms out there have already expressed some opinions, and there was a temptation to cancel the press conference because of all of the things that had already been shared, but I didn't want to cancel because there were some things that I wanted to say, and some for us to be able to tell our side of the story, or not our side of the story, but tell the what happened from an investigation angle. And also, I just really want to brag on my lieutenant who was in charge of this case, and talk about all his hard work. Lieutenant Long, who's with me here today, has spent an immeasurable amount of time on this case. He conducted several interviews with the suspects in this case, as well as some other key players involved. Lieutenant Long has dedicated many hours to getting all the facts and to gathering all the evidence so that he could present his case to the grand jury. I'm extremely thankful for all of his hard work. I appreciate his due diligence and everything that he did to prepare this case, as well as I'm extremely thankful for all the deputies of Blount County and the corrections officers and staff who work so hard every single day for the citizens of Blount County. And I'm blessed and honored to be the sheriff here. But Lieutenant Long, he dedicated a whole lot of time and effort, and he was determined to make sure that he had everything right when he took this case to grand jury. He takes every case seriously, and he's very thorough in each investigation that he oversees. And it's because of his hard work and because of his attention to detail that he was able to present his findings to the grand jury, where they returned indictments, including indictments on capital murder. Our two suspects that we're talking about today are Mason Grimes and Brooklyn Paige Posey Grimes. They are the two that were, this child was placed in their custody. But again, today I just want to say thank you to Lieutenant Long for all his hard work and to get us where we are here today in this case, and for his continued care in all of his cases here at the Sheriff's Office. During this investigation, it was discovered that the list of offenders that we mentioned just a minute ago, that although they were living here in Blount County, they were foster parents to our victim, and he was fostered out of Marshall County DHR. The victim was an 18-month-old child who was placed in their care. And on November the 22nd of 2023, the Blount County Sheriff's Office was contacted and responded to St. Vincent's Blount for the death of our victim. And at the time of the arrival, the victim was in the ER. He was in the trauma room, and the victim appeared to be emaciated, to have no body mass, skin and bones, and he was, and as we were talking to the medical staff there, they informed the investigator that at the time of the arrival, the victim was not breathing and was cold to the touch. The victim was then sent to the Alabama Department of Forensic Science for an autopsy, which is standard for minors. After an unknown amount of time spent interviewing and investigating this case, records reviews from the Marshall County DHR office, and records review from several doctors and medical centers, it was discovered that a medical appointment was attended on September the 25th, 2023, and that the child was diagnosed with several congenital disorders. Follow-up appointments were scheduled for October of the same year, but the victim was not taken back to the doctor. It was also discovered by medical records that the victim had lost over 50% of his body weight. Facts of this case were presented to the Blount County Grand Jury, and the offenders were charged from the outcome of that Blount County Grand Jury with the charges of capital murder for a child under the age of 15, intentional murder, felony murder, and aggravated child abuse. Mason Grimes and Brooklyn Paige Posey Grimes were arrested and are being held in the Blount County Correctional Facility as we speak on a no bond. This is a very heartbreaking case where everyone who was involved in any way, whether it be the initial report taken, whether it be the further investigation, the medical staff, everyone here at the Sheriff's Office, we're all touched tragically by this case, because let's just be honest, this precious child was a victim and had been treated in such a way that no human should be treated. And just want to say that from all of us here at the Sheriff's Office, we're all devastated over this, but I'm also very thankful today for the very hard work done by the deputies and Investigator Long, for the work that was put into this case so that we could try to get some justice for our victim. At this time, that's all I have. If anybody has questions, I'll be glad. Now, understand this, Investigator Chad Long, who oversees my investigative division, he has all the in-the-weeds details, and he is a little bit camera shy. So if you have questions, I'll be glad to do whatever I can to try to answer them, but Lieutenant Long's going to have most of the details, so I'll be glad to turn any questions that you have over to him.
We saw a Facebook page that appears to be owned by Mason Grimes, and he indicates that they had other foster parents, or they had other children that they were fostering. Can you verify that, and was there any concern when it came to other children that they may have fostered?
There were other foster children in the home. Those foster children have been removed from that home at the beginning of this. Their safety plans were set up by DHR, and those children were moved to a safe location.
Was there any indication of the same type of abuse that you guys are alleging the suspects inflicted upon the baby boy was, being given to the other foster children?
No.
How many other foster kids were there in the home?
At the time, I don't remember exactly which children had been previously adopted and which children were under foster care. I believe there was one child that had been adopted and two other children other than the baby that were in foster care.
So 3 others besides the baby?
Yes.
Okay.
A total of 4, yes.
And you mentioned that there was some doctor's appointments that were skipped in between that time frame. Is there any indication that DHR checked in on the family? Do we know if they ever showed up to their house or tried to make contact with them to check on the child?
I know the rules and the guidelines from my understanding that I have followed up with and learned from DHR is that they are required to do periodic home visits, and they are required to do follow-ups after doctor's appointments and other things like that. I don't know exactly what DHR's rules and requirements are. It wouldn't really be fair for me to comment on that, but I know that they do individual home visits, and each of the children that were in that home had a separate caseworker.
But we don't know if anyone checked for that child.
That child also had a caseworker, and they were, according to their records, doing periodic visits.
I'm sure you've spoken with the 2 suspects. Sheriff Markley has said that this is just a horrible case. I'm sure many of you men in here are fathers. Do we have any indication as to why this happened?
I don't. I wish I did. I wish I could understand. But I have no indication on why they did it.
And on the Facebook page that we found, he was basically saying to a lot of his people, please pray for us for what we're about to endure this week. It appears to have some support from people, maybe friends or family, people in their lives. What do you have to say about the people, who are supporting them during this time?
I'll address that because we all have friends and family that love us, regardless of whatever situation we're in, no matter what our circumstances are. Even when people seem to disagree with me and some of the things that I do and some of the stances that I make, some of the decisions that I make, there are people that will disagree with me, but I still have family and friends that love me and show support for me and openly show that support for me. It's the same in any situation, really. I don't know necessarily if the supporters were. Now, I know there are some out there that will never believe that any of this was possible. Almost all of our sex cases, crimes against children, murder cases, and things of that nature, there'll be a lot of times that people who are close family members to the offender that will say, there's no way they ever did that, they're too nice, they're too sweet, they're church-going, all these things that they'll give us or use for excuses as to why they could never do this. But the truth of the matter is that the facts are the facts, and the evidence is overwhelming. And if it weren't for the facts, if it wasn't for the evidence, Investigator Long would not have been able to present that to the grand jury and come back with these indictments. And so even though I also have an understanding, I can feel the people who are supporting them and love them, I can feel for them and understand why they would continue to support their loved ones. But sometimes our support for our loved ones needs to be that we're going to pray for you through this, because it's going to be extremely difficult and you're going to need some strength and encouragement, but not saying the things of, hey, there's no way they did it, or, you know, they're absolutely innocent. Their prayers and support are 100% appropriate for anyone. I have people who reach out to me on a regular basis that talk about how they go to my website every day and they look at all of the inmates and they pray their names out loud, every single inmate in my jail. So they all need somebody to love them and support them and pray for them, but also accountability has to be held in situations like this.
Was the victim a boy?
Yes.
And can you describe what that home was like that the foster parents were operating out of in Aniana? We were hearing reports that it was maybe a camper in Aniana.
So we talked about this a little bit this morning.
It's
and
not in Aniana.
yeah, it's definitely not an Aniana resident.
Okay.
They were not living in Aniana. They were. It was a Horton address, which is just inside Blount County, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But they were. It's hard to explain without, because we don't really just want to give everything. We don't want to lay all the facts out there, because we do have to protect the evidence. We do have to protect the case before it goes to trial. But there were some questions and some concerns about the living conditions for the entire family.
Did they have any children of their own, biological children or adopted children?
I believe there was one that they had. Adopted. As far as biological children, none that I'm aware of.
And do we know if they have any criminal background or anything that stood out to you guys? Maybe DHR had flagged anything?
They were foster providers, and their backgrounds and all of that stuff was addressed by the Marshall County DHR office. There were no. I'm trying to remember. I don't believe there was any flags in their criminal history that indicated anything negative.
Are you able to share what the congenital disorders that the baby had were?
I can't at this time.
Have they shown any remorse for what happened to the child?
I guess everyone has a different interpretation of remorse. If you're asking me if they were crying the night at the hospital, I didn't see it. During the interviews that I have conducted with them, they maintained bearing. They were able to answer my questions, and then they contacted legal representation, and there were no more interviews after that.
Anything else?
Is there anything that we missed that you might want to say?
As far as this case is concerned, no. Again, I just want to try to protect the integrity of the case without giving away too much, so that it, and when it does go to trial, that there will be that we didn't do something to hurt the prosecution. We've been very busy and had a lot going on here lately with many different types of cases. And I just want to say again how thankful I am to the deputies and the corrections staff and everybody who works here at the Sheriff's Office for all their hard work. It is, not an easy job, especially in today's world where there seems to be not a whole lot of people that want to work in service anymore, in public service anymore, in public safety. So the ones that are here, the ones that do want to do it, they're not going to get rich. They're not going to make themselves into a millionaire, but they understand what public service is and protecting our homes and protecting our families and doing the right thing. That's one thing that we always talk about around here is, we're not perfect. We make mistakes. We sometimes, stumble and fall, but we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to do the right thing because that's the right thing to do. And I just am extremely thankful for everybody who works here and does that every single day, sometimes in the spite of a world around us that doesn't appreciate the work that these men and women do.
One last question for you. For foster children who already don't have a home, they don't have those parents to love them, to see this happen from people who are supposed to be loving and caring for them, how does that make you feel?
It's extremely heartbreaking because there are also so few resources, so few opportunities for, not just in Blount County, but really nationwide, for children in foster care, children who are given up for adoption and things of that nature. So when you have a place that has been deemed safe to put kids in, and something like this happens, it is devastating on the entire community. I have had many people reach out to me today, specifically this morning, talking about how they were foster parents and how they had taken care of kids, and it just made them mad, and it hurt their heart and disappointed them because, not only, it's just like in law enforcement. If somebody in law enforcement does something that the media grabs a hold of and spreads, and puts a black mark on our entire profession, it's the same thing what a lot of these foster parents were saying, is that this could be damaging to every foster parent who is doing everything they can to do the right thing for these children, to give them a hope, to give them something to look forward to give them a chance in life to be successful. So it is heartbreaking for everyone.
Thank you.
All right, thank you again for coming out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good job, Chad.
I could see where it comes from. Yeah, I could say.